to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, today it's something that makes me very happy and a little bit sad because it's coming to an end. A whole year's journey coming to an end. The Fine, that's why I put that there, is we are finishing up our Lord of the Rings chapter by chapter, our Hobbit chapter by chapter, and the Silmarillion chapter by chapter. And over this last year, met so many cool people, so many awesome guests that have been coming in faithfully. Got to know so many of you, like Snortopupus, Jacob, um I Swan who I keep forgetting how to pronounce that correctly. Sandra Feliciano, and of course Rennie. That's how I got to know you. Rennie was I'd seen you in chats and stuff, but the first time we'd streamed together was here. So it's been
That
so
was
much
my
fun.
fault.
Oh, yes, it was. So your fault, but your fault in a good way.
Yeah, I said you should have
honestly, it was
her
a
on. She
blessing.
seems normal.
Wow.
Well, he actually turned out to be right. He's just teasing
I'm
because
always
I
right.
know.
oh for fun. Gosh darn it. I'm trying not to feed your ego, but you
There's no ego. It's just facts. Like I feel nothing from being right.
oh,
Says most men. No, just kidding.
no,
Just
no. I mean, but he is actually right. Most I very rarely are you wrong. And when you're wrong, you admit it. Oh,
Yeah,
and
I'll
yeah.
agree with that.
We got ourselves some Snortopupus. We love our animals here at Miss Martin Muses. We have Rennie, of course, sharing the stream. Folks, please reshare. It is a big finale of the book. Yes, it is. There you are, Sandra, saying hi to everyone. Jacob Ironside, thank you. Oh, he's snuffling. Oh, because it's coming to an end. Duly shared. Now I can sit on my big fat furry bear butt and relax. I love it. I love it. Snortopoopa says about make that dolphin relax and get better soon. Oh, a dolphin? Wait, did I miss something about a dolphin?
Oh, Sandra's husband runs King Dolphin TV, so he's a little under the weather right now. So
Oh, I thought he meant a real dolphin. I was like, oh my gosh, she's looking after a dolphin.
I know, what a sweet polar bear.
I know. Okay, hello. I'm waving to everyone too. Shansu, I think it is. Howdy. Oh, there's Keck44. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as usual, we do have our guest, Princess Rennie.
Good morning, Teresa, and thank you as always for having me. And Stieg, it's great to see you as well. Yeah, I would say looking back, I think it was a real blessing to be introduced to you personally and to this channel. It's been so much fun. I will say though, don't judge me, but whenever I saw the title, I was taking it as fine, it's over, you know? So,
Oh,
I totally misread that this morning and I just thought it was so cute. But yeah, it's been a blast.
you know, it has been a problem because, see, the snob alert, I'm a musician. So when I see that, I was like, how can I make this like, and I would put, oh, Fine, like at the end of a piece, you know, when you do DCL Fine. And I guess no one's getting it.
Yeah,
I know, I feel so
because you're the
dumb.
only snob.
Oh, no.
Go have your
Actually,
tea.
I knew what it was though.
Yeah. But I had to explain it though. So yeah, fine. Well, I guess fine will work too. Like fine, we're done. Screw you all.
Well, I had to explain to you that I was not calling you a manatee.
Oh. Yeah, that was a controversial conversation we had.
Oh, the humanity.
I thought he said humanity, and because he goes humanity, so I'm sitting there, you know, you.
Yeah, because I randomly say things like that, don't I?
Yeah.
Actually, probably do.
That's so rude, Steve.
Well,
Why
no,
did you
I mean,
call her a
well,
manatee?
no, you know better than to say that to a woman.
I know, right?
Yeah, because like immediately, you go into the mirror. Is my butt looking big?
It's like, oh my god, I must look huge today in this outfit.
I need to change my clothes. I knew I shouldn't have worn that sweater.
Yeah.
Though I rarely wear sweaters actually because it's too hot where I live. Hello, Guilty Gaming. I hope I said that right. Snortopupus. Oh, the huge manatee.
Oh.
Sandra Feliciano says, I play piano. I got it. Okay, 2 snobs. Yeah, you and I can be snobs together. And from the future, all the way from the future, it is the one, the only, the Viking himself, Steve Kenobi.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, hello. How's the future?
It's shit. I've got a cold.
Oh, well, screw that. How'd you
Yeah,
catch a cold? It's the
but-
summer.
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention exactly when I got it.
Oh, okay.
But it could be probably some twat at the store or whatever. But yeah, got a cold, and but I showed up anyway. For I am loyal.
Oh, well, thank you for your dedication. Well, and you were here from the beginning. You were here from the beginning. Yeah, the very first one was late July, so we're almost a complete year. And I believe the first one was you,
wow.
Lady Gravemaster, and me. Yeah, and Rennie, you joined us in the fall. And so you've been here. Lady Toriel, she was also with us from the beginning, pretty much. And we wish you well. Sometimes things come up with them, and Lady Gravemaster has a very busy schedule, so she's hoping to join. We'll just have to see. So it's great to see you all here. BC, aka the New Dark Shadow. Hello, everyone. We are 9 days till the 4th of July celebration, so bring out the coolers, bring out the fireworks, and throw some meat on the grill. Yeah, I always watch the John Adams miniseries episode with the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, with the King of the North playing Thomas Jefferson.
He's not the King of the North. King of the North is Robb Stark.
Oh, I know, but I thought that
Stannis.
I thought later that Stannis became the king because he united the North.
No. But yeah, Stannis is in it. And the great Paul Giamatti. He shines in that show.
Yes, he's amazing. Okay, well, now I've only read up to Clash of Kings. Okay. Oh, yeah, because he would want to be the king of everything. He wouldn't say, I'm now the king of the North.
He is the true king.
Okay, he's the true king. I stand...
All will deny that on my foes.
Okay, I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
Let no man claim ignorance as a defense. They'll bend the knee or I'll destroy them.
You heard it here first. Okay.
Cut him off at the knee.
Yeah. I know my Game of Thrones books.
Yeah. Well, that's a long way of me saying it's Stannis being there. So now I will have to just say the true king of Westeros.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is Stannis. Yeah, and we may never find out, but that will get us on one big hell of a digression. So not today, or at least at the end. That's our digression time. But
George Martin's being a manatee.
Yes, that is an accurate.
Yeah.
In both senses of the word, and I don't mean that in a mean way, and that's why we're afraid we're never going to get it.
I bet you he sits there and eats those little sausages all the time.
Oh.
He's
Probably
sitting
more
there swelling in his chair, just eating those little sausages with his stupid hat on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he's sitting there going, what can I put on my blog today that will piss everybody off?
Yeah, I need to buy another choo-choo train.
Yeah. It's been like 3 days since I've insulted my fans.
And they got him good on South Park and Family Guy.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't mean to be mean. I'm not going to fat shame here, but if there's anyone that deserves it, it's him, because he's the one who's saying he's taking his time while he's sitting there at 400 pounds and being 72 or whatever. I mean, statistics, man, statistics.
He used to be 350, now he's 400.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's getting bigger. Well, as you get older, I'm just saying, don't sit around and tell me these books take a while. It might take another 10 years when even if you're in the best of health, uh, 80 years old, you still got another book to go. So, but let's get back to the things that are important. Snortopupus Kubur said he was out chasing herring on an ice floe. Okay, the truth comes out, Stieg.
What?
That's how you got your cold. You were out chasing herring on an ice floe.
Oh, yes.
Smash the like. Yes, thank you. Hello and thank you. I like to watch 1776 musical. I do too. I have that memorized. Vote yes. Vote for independency. That if I really start singing properly, then Stieg will disappear. He'll be like, my cold. Snortopoop says he keeps telling himself that he's a better writer than Tolkien over and over and over.
Well, he has. I don't think he's actually said that though. That's more like the media being hyperbolic. But yeah,
but he's a jerk, so we don't give him. He's lost any goodwill. He's lost any goodwill. Okay, but we are here to talk about the Silmarillion. Thank you, everyone that is popping in. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, I've practiced this so many times. A Kelebeth.
See?
Yay.
Yes,
You did it correctly.
I did. I've got it. And a Calabec. Wait, damn it! I just.
Oh dear.
Kelebeth is actually outside of the Silmarillion, though it is considered, a part of it, and it's in it every time you see the whatever the hell it's called, the Silmarillion. Kelebeth is in it, but the Silmarillion ended last week with everyone screwing up things, and guess what? They screw it up again. Original sin is just so damn original. People just can't get over it. Or whatever the equivalent is of it. People just can't get over it. But I just love the way that Tolkien writes these. And before we get started, Princess Rennie, I didn't know if you wanted to have anything to say about what we are going to read today or discuss.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. For me, these last two chunks of the book, so to speak, took a lot of brain power. I don't know why, but I felt like they were very, very detailed and very meaty, but at the same time, very necessary to know. In my opinion, I love how they talk about everything the Númenóreans did and some of their challenges, but, the faithful or the elf friends or whatever accomplished a lot, and some of them, stayed true, and I just really appreciated that aspect. I also appreciated some details that I'd forgotten about the Rings of Power as well. So very good chapters, just took a lot of brain power.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't even know, are they really chapters or just sections? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, technically they're chapters, but I know exactly what you mean about that. Okay, Stieg.
Yeah, I like the Calabeth. It's just sums up stuff, fleshes out Sauron a bit. I know he's made some appearances earlier in the book, but this is when he gets to do damage.
Yes.
Rather than just turn into a werewolf or whatever it was he did.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this because of the I love hearing about the Númenóreans, the Adane. Is it a Dane or is it a Doin? I can't pronounce any of these things. And their story and how they're on their little island, and it's very apocalyptic. Um, it's loads of fun. And oh well, we
It's
haven't. Sorry.
similar to Atlantis, really, isn't it?
Y- yes, it is. Yes, especially. Well, it's not a spoiler to say, dang it, when the waves, it's like everything falls, hills fall on people, and then a big wave came.
Yeah, and then they never find it again, right? Kind of like Atlantis. You can
Mhm.
never find it. So that's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
parallel to draw.
Gee whiz, I miss obvious things, but no, but that's a yeah. It sucks. It sucks to be if you were on that island for sure. We have an elf in the house. We have an elf in the house. Hello, Lady Toriel. I hope
Hello.
you. Yeah, we love Lady Toriel here, and
Toriel.
if you can join us, that's great. We love you and miss you. But I appreciate you being here. Everyone's saying here. Snortopoopas, thank you so much. Adine, yes. Hello, Matt G.
Or Edine.
Oh, fuck my. Oh,
I don't know.
well, if it's
I
a
think
Dean,
it's
it would
Adine.
be EEN. Dine, like fine, instead of Fine.
Actually, it's
Adane.
fine.
Adane.
No, just kidding.
Adine. Help us out here, Snortopoopas. I'm so sorry. I don't want to intrude upon you, but if you could do it more phonetically because we're special here. Matt G. Thank you for bringing the bacon. We always love bacon. Everyone's saying hello. People are sending roses, leaves. Everyone loves Toriel. Yes, we do. Keck says language journeys. I'm sorry. For some reason, this stuff makes me curse. Dine, as in fine dining. So there, Stieg, you were wrong.
I said it like a question.
I'm going to go back and listen to it later and see if there was a question or inflection.
Oh. I said
And
Adane?
Adine. Well, okay. Well, how's this? If I was right, I'll be able to like.
Does it matter?
Well, you see, that's what I was going to say. I'm petty enough to go. I would go C. All right. Adine. It is the Adine. So thank you. None of it really matters. I'm just a petty woman. A petty person rather too, because I don't know what is a woman, right? Except apparently we're all women again. All right, let's get going, kids. Let's get going. Yeah, I know. Isn't it amazing? Suddenly we're all transformed into women. At the end of the first age, the Adine, who alone among the race of men were loyal defenders of the elves during their war against Morgoth, were given a new land for their own reward for their efforts, free from the troubles and sadness of Middle Earth. Dang it, that's what I want. It was located in the middle of the Great Sea between the western shores of Middle Earth and the eastern shores of Aman, where the Valar lived. I want my own island as a reward. Gosh, yeah. Oh, shit. Okay, I was wrong. Okay, Shansu says, Stig did say he didn't know. Okay. All right. Mea culpa.
It's okay. You're forgiven.
Thank you. Oh, good. I didn't even have to get to mea maxima culpa. Okay. All right. You see, we're very tolerant here at Miss Smart Muses. So they get their own island. Yay! My dream. See, I've been a good girl. I want God to give me an island, or the angels, or the Valar, or whoever they are. But of course, there's always that one thing you're not allowed to do. You can eat any of the fruit except for that tree. You're not allowed to sail westward so far that you could no longer see the island. And also they were forbidden from trying to go to the Valinor and all that kind of stuff. So for a while, they were kind of cool with that. So they're minding their own business, and they go, fine, then we'll just go east because we can. And So what happens is they go and they start hanging out with the other men of Middle Earth, who apparently are sitting around being cavemen or something. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but they teach them a lot of cool things because the Adine are all badass and they have all sorts of crafts and skills. And they made alliance with Gilgalad and the elves and aided them in the war against Sauron, where
Well,
he.
here's a thing that I thought was weird because they teach them how to work iron and stuff.
Hmm.
I was under the impression that they already knew that when they were fighting Morgoth and all that, because they had weapons. Where did they get that?
Unless this happened before that stuff,
Well,
and they're just telling us the history of the Numenorians. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, because I got a bit confused, about that stuff. Because
oh,
because men were fighting in those wars, and they had swords and all and armor. And I'm like, how do you have that if you haven't been taught how to work iron yet?
No, that makes perfect sense. But there's a lot of chapters or sections of the book where you think it's in the future, but it's actually in the past or whatever. So I had to resolve that to myself quite a bit when I was rereading this. It's like, oh, okay, this happened at the same time as this, but it gets confusing. It really does.
yeah, now I'm confused. Okay, if anyone in the chat can help us out, I would definitely appreciate that. Yeah, damn you, Tolkien. Yeah.
I'm sure there's an explanation though, but I didn't see it, and
Y-
I thought it was odd.
yeah. No, no, no. I think you're right. I think you're right. Or maybe we're all wrong. But there is some commentary. I'm looking here at what Tolkien has to say about this ban of the Valar that the humans didn't completely understand. The Numenorians didn't get why the ban was there, and maybe they should have explained it more. I don't know. But the design of Manwë was that the Numenorians should not be tempted to seek for the blessed realm, nor desire to overpass the limits set to their bliss, becoming enamored of the immortality of the Valar and the Eldar and the lands where all things endured. For in those days, Valinor still remained in the world visible. So their purpose was you won't get enamored of eternal life and you won't like try to come and seek us. But on the other hand, it's like, hey, we can see you and all of that. So
It's gotta fuck with people's heads though. It's like, yeah, the eternal life is over there, and I'm getting old.
yeah, precisely. Even though they lived much longer, you're exactly right. Like I said, it was like kind of like in the creation myth when God's like, you can eat of all these trees, but that cool one over there, you can't eat. It's like, then why did you point it out? Um, but yeah, I see you. It was like asking for them to be tempted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Valar, I'm sorry, I'm not on your side. Not on your side. Um, so if they really truly wanted it, they would have done it like what they did after they destroyed everything. It's no, that's actually not very nice. Keck says I think there's an island slightly used in the Bahamas right now. One of my wear gloves though.
Oh
Sort of
my.
Poopa says, "Here's a nice island now. Don't break it." Yeah, and even though you can see us and we get to live forever and you don't, don't get don't get too curious or jealous. Sort of Poopa says, I think some more of the primitive men in Middle Earth weren't using iron yet, but Tolkien didn't really specify. Hello, Hound 3000 says maybe training people on more rural areas and woof, 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 bark, bark. Thank you. I always like it when people speak their native language. Sort of Poop says in the Bombadil chapter in Lord of the Rings, they heard of the great barrows and the green mounds and the stone rings upon the hills and the hallows among the hills. Sheep were bleeding in flocks, green walls and white walls rose. There were fortresses in the heights. Kings of little kingdoms fought together. Well, thank you, Snortopoopas. I'm glad you're putting that together for us. And the young sun shone like fire on the red metal of their new and greedy swords. Red metal, bronze, perhaps?
Oh,
That would
or
make
copper.
sense.
Yeah.
Or covered in blood.
Ew.
Thank you, Snortopoopas. Sandra, oh, she's giving Hound 3000 some hugs, scratches his belly, and belly rubs, and here's a bully stick. Hey, I've just learned what bully sticks are because we have
A bully stick.
Oh, do you know what a bully stick is?
No.
Oh, look it up. It's gross.
It's gross, but
Yeah.
dogs really like them. And I've been going to the butcher to get fresh ones, like really good quality for the little doggy that's in our family right now. And they love them. They're really good.
Oh, I think yeah, they my parents get those
Yeah.
for the dog.
Yeah. Well, let me this way. Bully is kind of a different way of saying something else. Sort of Poop says, "May I have a cookie now?" Yes, you may.
What?
Okay, it starts with a B.
Yeah. I googled bully stick. It's dog food, kind of.
Mm.
Yeah. Did you look more specifically? Okay. Well, as Steve is looking this up,
It just looks like almost like firewood.
maybe we'll put it in the private chat. But the
Already done.
Numenorians, the Numenorians were really cool with they were really cool with gosh darn it.
Oh,
I'm
it's
laughing.
bull dick.
Oh.
Wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was just because you can't really tell because they're kind of thin, right?
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, why did you have to be so well? No, I guess that is exactly what it is, isn't it? That's why I was saying. I was trying to say it starts with a B for BALLS. So
Balls? No way they stretched the balls this long.
I it says made from bull dangly.
The pictures I'm seeing, they look like little pieces of firewood.
Well, yeah, I mean they take the meat and make them like that so it's easier for the dogs to eat. From a Kelebeth to bully sticks. Yeah, well, we'll find a way to bring it all in. Hey, Ancient One's here. Awesome. We love you, Ancient One. So meanwhile, while they're throwing bully sticks to their dogs, the Numenorians are really awesome with sailing. But of course, the spirit of what is it? Though the Valar had rewarded the Dunedain with long life, this is Tolkien's words, they could not take from them the weariness of the world that comes at last. I know the feeling. And they died, even their kings and the seed of Arandil, and the span of their lives was brief in the eyes of the Eldar. Thus it was that a shadow fell upon them, in which maybe the will of Morgoth was at work, so that still moved in the world. And the Numenorians began to murmur, at first in their hearts and then in open words, against the doom of men, and most of all against the ban which forbade them from sailing into the west.
Well, that means it took place after Morgoth was dead.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't really dead. He was in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, men should have had weapons before that.
Yeah. Well, but Stieg, also though, this is like a long time has passed because, like, for a while they are like, "Yay, we're living in bliss! Yay, yay, yay! Us, we're lovely. We love living on these islands." But eventually, maybe
I don't know.
I feel like they condense like a huge timeline into like a synopsis of what happened in Numenor. I really feel like it took a lot longer than it felt like when you read this section of the book. That's just me because I'm like, I assume
they're
this
not
is a
being
lot.
clear about this, but maybe that's it's probably something they flesh out in unfinished tales.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, any help is appreciated on this, but um, yeah, this is, gosh darn it, just something that didn't catch me when I was doing this. Um, but I think everyone's right. How's that? I think that there's something there. And the Eldar die not. Yeah, but you see, that's the other thing. The Eldar do die because they're all like, "Where did the Eldar? Eldar?" But Eldar can die, so shut up. And then they go, "Why did we not go to Amon and taste there?" Yeah, and that's even with like humans, like people. Like look at people, the things people do, thinking they can live forever
Hmm.
or not live forever, or trying to delay the inevitable, especially as people get older. Look at, well, Nancy Pelosi, because there was
Oh,
lots of her,
She's
the
she's
amount of
starting to look
plastics.
like that. That crippled orc in the movies.
Yeah, she's really looking bad. I mean, it's like, lady, you're 80. It's okay, but yeah, the amount of plastic surgery she's had, and then look at like some of the actors who have almost get addicted to plastic surgery, and now they look like freaks. Well,
mhm.
even younger people. Ashley Judd, I saw her recently, because of the tragic passing of her mother, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what has she done to her face?
Yeah,
And
even Megan Fox.
yeah,
She
Megan
was
Fox.
way too young to do that stuff.
Exactly. So
And Laura Flynn Boyle.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, leave Skeletor's mom alone. Says Soul Assassin. Hello. And I think Sternopupus gets the comment of the day. Meanwhile, out in the pasture, the bulls keep wondering why dogs keep following them. Yeah, to paraphrase Asterix the Gaul, these people are crazy. Yeah, very much like the Capitol in the Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah.
Where I mean, everyone just turned into freaks. But oh my gosh, I just, we're still having some bullies talk, but that's okay. That's great here. But there's that serial killer chick like in Bulgaria or something where she was killing all her servants and then bathing in their blood because she was trying to prolong her life. And that's
Oh,
also,
yeah.
Elizabeth Bathory.
yeah.
Yes.
That, yeah. And she ended up getting caught because she accidentally couldn't help herself and killed a noble lady, because no one cared if servants died because they died all the time. But yeah, the unnatural thing for eternal life. Well, and as you get older, you do kind of start to feel your mortality. But I guess imagine if you're minding your own business and there were people that you were living with or living alongside or that you knew that weren't dying, and so maybe you would get to be a little bit
Envious.
yeah, envious. And even the and then it says the Numenorians are like, why should we not envy the Valar, or even at least the deathless? For us it is required a blind trust and a hope without assurance, knowing not what lies before us in a little while, and yet we also love the earth and would not lose it. Yeah, I this is where all temptation comes from. The whole why do we have to suffer?
Well, it's not just that. It's human nature to want something that other people have that they don't,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like the ring or the Silmarils.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Look, everyone lost their crap over Look at everyone who loses their crap over jewelry in this world. um, and yeah, just the very nature of evil. Sorry, envy. And they're like, beware, the will of Eru may not be gainsaid. The Valar bid you earnestly not to withhold the trust to which you were called, lest soon it become again a bond with which you were restrained. Hope rather in the end, even the least of your desires shall have fruit. The love of Arda is set in your hearts. So they're kind of saying, have faith. And this kind of touches me a little bit, even as Christians. Sometimes we'll hear, well, yeah, this world sucks, but just kind of remember you got heaven waiting. And I would be the biggest liar on the planet if I say I haven't been a little bit of a murmurer about that.
You need to
I've
read
had.
the Dragonlance books. Makes people happy.
Oh well, I do. No, I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm unhappy, but yeah, I've had a few moments where I've been. This sucks. I'm just saying it's human nature. The idea that happy things will come later, and even within this world, even if you want to throw religion out of it, it's like, oh, this too shall pass. Whenever sometimes some people say that to me, especially, I've been going through some things, you want to punch them in the face. It's like, I'm sure it will pass. Feck off. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, but that doesn't do anything about how I feel right now. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But I'm just being honest with who I am. But I know what you mean, Steve, about
We understand how you feel and we support you. And
That's funny.
there.
Speaking of punching people in the face, no, I wouldn't do that. Thank you for those words of support. I feel very supported now. She couldn't be executed, say they locked her up in her bedroom until she died 2 years later. Oh yes, Bathory, Elizabeth Bathory. Yes, and yeah, they just kind of locked her up. They kind of did like Hannibal Lecter on her. And Snorpipus comes in if you prefer the Hungarian, and Bathory Elizabeth, which of course I probably butchered. Hello. Well, look who's here. We have an Australian in the house. Hello. Oh, Deef is here. Why, hello, Deef. Well, this popped up in my feed. I love the Silmarillion. Oh, he subbed. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I do
yay.
appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope we don't frighten you too much. We try to behave ourselves here. My gosh. Anyone says, what would happen if Tolkien's work ended up in the public domain? What would your reaction be if that happened? At this point, I'd be like, fine, because look at those idiots, what they're butchering with it, anyways, with this, with it not being in the public domain. I'm just, I just looked at what we know Tolkien wrote and say F the rest. So meanwhile, while they're sitting around being jealous, and what does it say here? This is the summary. During this time, the long life of the Numerians began to decrease as the shadow rose. So it's almost like the envy grew, and then they actually lost spans of their life. It says their joy for life and goodwill departed, but their power increased. And then this is where we get Sauron. And even though I don't like Sauron, it is one of those moments that you have in the Silmarillion, like Rennie, you said last week, like, I know him. I know him. Jumping up and down.
We actually get quite a few familiar names in these next two, or in these last two. And yeah, it's really cool to, you don't get a whole lot of insight to Sauron in The Lord of the Rings, but, in the Silmarillion, you really get to know that he's a master of disguise and a master manipulator and all this stuff. And you just don't really get to see a lot of that. You just know he's the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What she said. Yeah. Oh, and also they split into 3 different groups of people of Numenor. There were the Kingsmen, there were the Elf Friends, and the faithful ones. And Sauron, because he's a dick, he's a Maiar, and he had been a servant of Morgoth. And Sauron hated the Númenóreans because the deeds of their fathers and their ancient alliance with the elves and allegiance to the Valar. Nor did he forget the aid that Tar and Minister had rendered Gil-galad of old in that time when the One Ring was forged and there was war between Sauron and the elves in Eriador. Yeah, it's like, thank you for info dumping on us. Yeah. But it makes sense that, of course, Sauron would be jealous of them, because deep down that's even what was going on with Morgoth. That the jealousy, and he wanted to be like God. He wanted to be like Eru. Okay.
Yeah.
Because he's
A punk. No, just kidding.
yeah, exactly. And then the king Ar-Pharazôn responded. Sauron challenged them and their colonies along the shores, and were assailed by him and their armies. And his armies. And the king responded and came with a great host to Middle Earth, and bade Sauron to come before him and swear fealty. To the surprise of many, Sauron did as he was asked. But the king was not content with his show of obedience, and brought Sauron back to Numenor as a hostage. This is from the summary, by the way. Sauron gave the impression that this was against his will, but in truth, it was exactly what he wanted. Because once again, everyone listens to the bad guy. And it's like Sauron exploited his power to corrupt the king to his will. So he was whispering in his ear. Soon he became his advisor, and most of the Numenorians obeyed his will and turned to the worship of Morgoth.
Ugh.
What could possibly go wrong?
Ugh.
Yeah. I was gonna
It
say,
made me cringe when I read that. I was like, oh man, bunch of idiots.
I know. I know. I'm thinking like Stieg, I was thinking, don't people learn from their mistakes?
No,
No? I guess not.
it's a thing. People like to think they learn from their mistakes. They like saying they have. A few years later, they're gonna make the same mistake again.
Yeah. It's hubris, I guess.
No, it's wired.
Interesting.
Yeah, basically, this is why history repeats itself,
Oh.
because people don't. After a certain amount of time, if the big bad mistake happened, you know, far enough back ago, then they just forget about it, and then they start doing it again.
Yeah, you're right.
I also feel like you also have those with a little bit of an ego, like I won't fall into that trap, or I'll do it better. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like every time communism has failed, people go, "Yeah, but that wasn't real communism."
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
it was. You know,
yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like this time when we do it all, this time when we do it all, they won't enslave us.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, oh no, we'll overcome that. We're better. We're stronger, you know.
Yeah, like when we take people's free speech, we'll be nice about it. Soul Assassin says it's like touching the stovetop. Some people will remember why others will touch it again, thinking it can't do it again. And pride always goes before a fall. Yeah. Ancient One, Miss Martin Muses about a bunch of people worshiping Morgoth. What could possibly go wrong? Ancient One, a lot of things could go wrong. Yes, and speaking of things that will never go wrong, hello, Prince Lethal. Thank you for being here. Teresa, Rennie, we get hearts, and oh, hey, Stieg.
hello,
Aw.
lethal.
Thank you for being here. Now we're talking about these people being twats. They never learn from their mistakes. Deef says communism, the most murderous ideology in all of human history. Why not try it again? Yes. Good day, all. Yes, thank you. And I think, well, for you, it's good night. But so the twats started to listen to Sauron and worship Morgoth. Let's see, where are we? All right, summary. Sauron convinced the king, who is now in his twilight years, to assail Aman in order to gain immortality. I'm sorry, just laughing. It's like, gosh, you're dumb. Thus, Ar-Pharazôn led his great army and landed on Aman. However, as this was done, the Valar appealed to Eru Iluvatar, and he destroyed the great armament. So there you go. Farazan and his hosts were buried under hills because that you got to do it completely. And the whole of Numenor sank under the great sea. Arda was made spherical, and Amon was put beyond it, out of the reach of mortal men. You see, they didn't listen. So if you don't listen and you make the same damn mistake, you're gonna have hills knocked on top of you, and then you're gonna.
I mean, point taken now. I mean, or it should be, right?
Yeah, and then it's gonna sink into the ocean. Maybe they were like, these people are so dumb. I guess the only thing we can do is just knock them out of existence. Dan Blackbride, greetings. Listen and I fall asleep. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Soul Assassin says worshiping Morgoth, human sacrifices. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. They were doing human sacrifices and doing them from among the quote unquote faithful. And that's something else. When they kill, they the Yahtzees, they're like, let's find those faith, the Jews.
Did you ever read the little piece of the Lord of the Rings sequel that Tolkien worked on, but he canceled it?
Yes.
That was supposed to be about a cult.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if it's tied to this.
Could
that's
be
a good idea.
Yeah,
Because, sorry, Teresa.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Aragorn and his son are from the line of Numenor, so
yeah,
could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, following the same temptation, I think and they also said that they were
I think Aragorn was dead during that sequel.
Oh, yes, he was dead by then, but it was but I think that she was saying they were among the line of
but I think Aragorn's son was ruling.
But he's still from the line of Numenor, so it makes sense.
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad he didn't write it, because Lord of the Rings ends perfectly.
Yeah,
it really does.
Well, and also didn't they say that it was part of it that people were starting to LARP, if you will, as orcs, or they thought orcs were cool.
What?
Well, I thought that it was in that part of it that they started to think the orcs were awesome. I would have to look that up, but I recall, and I also recall, Stieg, I believe if I'm correct, that Tolkien abandoned it because it was just too darn bleak.
Yeah, he. I think he said that. Even if you have a story to tell, it doesn't mean you have to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. So I think he just let it go.
Yeah, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then he went. Sorry,
I would have liked to have for him to just do a standalone book in Middle Earth that wasn't tied to the Lord of the Rings necessarily. That would have been fine, but sequels can ruin good endings.
Yeah, I won't mention what saga that happened in.
Oh yeah, but it's happened in a lot of things. I mean,
yeah,
Terminator 2 has pretty much a perfect ending. And
yeah,
then
it
they
does.
fuck it up. Indiana Jones 3 as well, I guess, but
That's my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I really do like The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I would say Saul Assassin says worshipping Morgoth, human sacrifices, boiling seas, cats and dogs loving each other, and mass hysteria. See, I got to go down. Everyone's saying hi to everyone. Hello, Boosh. Thank you for being here. Everyone's waving. Yay, we all love each other. Purpose says, nope, still haven't learned the lesson yet. No. yeah. See, Esmer Poopa says some text here. Beleriand destroyed, Numenor destroyed, and what happens in Gondor? The men of Gondor hungered after life unending. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and also, I want to point out that the summary didn't go into this. That there were warnings sent to the people of Numenor. I mean, it wasn't like just they were like, okay, feck you all. And I think even the Eagles came with some warnings. I'm finding this here where was it lightning on their wings beneath some of the eagles born lightning be with their wings and thunder echoed between sea and cloud. Then the men grew afraid. Behold, the eagles of the Lord of the West, the eagles of Manwë, are come upon Numenor, and they fell upon their faces. And then some would repent for a season, but others hardened their hearts, and they shook their fist at heaven, saying, the lords of the West have plotted against us. So they did receive some warnings before all hell broke loose.
Well, and didn't Eonwë, Manwë's messenger, also speak to them about, like, look, this is the plight of elves and this is the plight of men. It's not a punishment. It was considered a gift from Iluvatar, as far as death goes.
Yeah, they tried to dialogue with them, but it didn't work. But I get vibes of Noah in some of this, because Elendil and his sons, they did heed the warnings, and they had their ships laying off the east of the coast, and the faithful put aboard their wives and their children, their heirlooms, great stores of good. Many things were of beauty and power, such as the Numenorians had contrived in the days of their wisdom. And 7 stones they had, the gift of the Eldar. But in the ship of Isildur was guarded the young tree, the sky of Nimloth the Fair. Thus Elendil held himself in readiness and did not meddle in the evil deeds of those days. Then he journeyed in secret to the western shores and gazed out over the sea. So they were able to escape before all hell broke loose. And the 7 stones, those are the Palantir, if I'm correct, or correct me if I'm wrong. Or if I'm wrong, I will.
No, you are indeed correct.
Okay, good, because I get worried sometimes. Yeah, so they brought those things with them. But dang, these guys are so stupid.
That's a good parallel that you drew with the whole Noah and getting saved, because Elendil's father actually sailed west, and I forget his name because there's so many names that begin with an A, but it starts with an A.
Yeah, Amondiel.
Yes, thank you. And so he sailed to the west to kind of forewarn the Valar of what's happening, and that he and his kin are not down, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then he told Elendil, get the hell out of here, like sail to Middle Earth, leave this place, these people suck, you know, so to speak. I know I'm totally paraphrasing because that's not how it went down, but yeah, it's pretty cool that he got saved because he never broke the faith, so to speak. So
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I think he what you said. And then Elendil and his sons after founded kingdoms in Middle Earth, and though their lore and craft was but an echo of that which was seen before Sauron came to Numenor, yet very great it seemed to the wild men of the world. And they founded Gondor and what's the other one called? Oh crap,
Arnor?
I had it. Yes. And then Sauron himself was filled with great fear at the wrath of the Valar and the doom that Eru laid upon sea and land. It was greater far than aught he had looked for, hoping only for the death of the Numenorians and the defeat of their proud king. So even Sauron was like, damn. And Sauron, sitting in his black seat in the midst of the temple, had laughed when he heard the trumpets of Al-Pharazôn sounding for battle. What a dick. And again, he had laughed when he heard of the thunder of the storm, and a third time, even as he laughed at his own thought, thinking that he would do now in the world, being rid of the Edain forever. He was taken in the midst of his mirth, and his seat and temple fell into the abyss. I'm just imagining him going, ha, 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 ha.
Maybe doing the Nelson laugh.
Yes. And then,
Yeah.
oops, his seat and his temple fell into the abyss.
Do the Beavis and Butthead. Yeah.
And then, but Sauron was not of mortal flesh, and though he was robbed now of the shape in which he had wrought so great an evil, so that he could never again appear fair to the eyes of men, thank goodness. Yet his spirit arose out of the deep and passed as a shadow and a black wind over the sea, and came back to Middle Earth and to Mordor, that was his home. There he took up again his great ring in Baradir and dwelt there, dark and silent, until he wrought himself a new guise, an image of malice and hatred made visible, and the eye of Sauron. Finally, we see it as like, I know this! I know this! The eye of Sauron! The terrible few could endure. Yep. I think that's great. Stieg,
Yeah.
I would love to have seen this done properly in a movie. But
Yeah. I think Silmarillion, yet you basically have to piece it up and, do movies out of chapters, which I think Baron and Luthien is probably the most suited
yeah.
Mhm.
for a movie, and probably the Children of Hurin.
Yeah. That would be badass. Yeah.
Just the whole brother marrying sister thing still freaks me out on that one. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but hey, we've already had Cersei and
Yeah.
the
And Jamie.
Lannisters. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I love this stuff though. I mean, there's so much in here. Holy crud.
Actually, you have it in Star Wars now too, because if Rey is a Skywalker, then she was wanting to do hanky panky with Kylo, which would be a relative.
Hmm.
So basically, if someone agrees that she is a Skywalker, then they're pro incest.
Ew.
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, that makes the
You're
whale
right.
history extra twisted, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Gross. Well, they're all a bunch. They all turned into perverts, anyways, in the sequel trilogy. Oh, gosh. Well, after all this, though, and I'm ready now for God to send a flood upon the earth. Thank you, Sieg, for bringing me to the pits of despair again. The earth now, or the Middle Earth, was now round, and because they were trying, the men of the West, if you will, they were like, hey, wait, we can't find anything, and all roads are now bent. And it says, thus in after days, with the voyages of ships, what by lore and starcraft, this is from Tolkien, by the way, the actual words, the kings of men knew that the world was indeed made round. And yet the Eldar were permitted still to depart and come to the ancient West and to the Avalonia if they would. If therefore the lore masters of men said that a straight road must still be for those that were permitted to find that. And they taught that while the new world fell away, the old road and the path of the memory of the West still went on, as it were a mighty bridge invisible that passed through the air of breath and of flight.
The island that starts with an A. What was the name again?
Avalone.
So Avalon.
Yeah. That's what I got from
The
it
island
whenever I
of
read it.
Yeah, it's like Avalon. Yeah, Island of
Oh,
Avalon, which is isn't
Arthurian?
that kind of a bridge between this world and another one? in a sense, because Arthur gets taken there and he's mortally wounded, and he's supposed to return later on when England needs him.
Yeah, because isn't Avalon either like purgatory or heaven in the King Arthur legends?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a. Oh my gosh. I guess need to read the. Sometimes you do need to read the damn names. Yeah. Because, yeah, that's what they say. It's like an invisible road. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And we know that was what was able to enable Sam and Frodo and all them to go back on that little ship.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it even says, and tales and rumors arose concerning mariners and men forlorn upon the water, who by some fate or grace or favor of the Valar had entered in upon the straight way, and straight way is a capital S and a W, and seen the face of the world sink below them, and so had come to the lamp like keys of Avalone or Avalon, and verily to the last beaches of the margin of Ammon, and there looked upon the white mountains, dreadful and beautiful, before they died. There we go.
Hmm.
So, a cautionary tale. Lots of comments here. I do see what y'all are talking about. The Skywalkers have this history.
Aye.
Middle Earth is round. Tell that to Amazon. Yeah, a lot of trashing of the sequels and all that. Yeah, yeah, and of course, anything that Amazon is doing is fan fiction for sure. Well, I love I do like this. Once again, it was a hard one because there was so much again in each paragraph in each chapter, but it was pretty intense. I mean, Stieg, what do you think we learn or don't learn from all this?
Well, it it starts to, you know, flesh out how evil Sauron actually is,
Hmm.
and how easily corrupted men are, which Galadriel says in the intro of the movies too. Men whose hearts are easily corrupted,
Hmm.
right? So it's a thing. Um, but yeah, it takes a turn in the second half of this, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but it also ends in hope that even though it seems like all is doom, it there's that hope of that quote unquote straight way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's well said since Elendil and his kin decided never to fall into it and they escaped.
Yeah, they had their ark, they had their boats, a lot of imagery of the sea and the boats and the ocean. I mean, but I know what you're saying. I mean, this is really striking me about men, humans, and all that, just being so weak. Not, this is all I will allude to about current events, but oh my gosh, how stupid can people be? And do the people ever learn?
Well, you want to know something that's actually kind of scary? The generation growing up now have always had the internet. They're the first generation to have been born with the internet, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them have cell phones.
Yes.
And a cell phone is technically a supercomputer because it gives you access to all the history
Mm-hmm.
and knowledge in the world. And you have it literally in your hand. And what do they use it for? Making funny faces on TikTok.
Yeah.
That, yeah, that
Yep.
should scare the shit out of people and make people realize, hey, yeah, this is uh, this is beyond dumb.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing more and more what Tolkien called the long defeat. And I think that he manifested that with his elves. Ugh, my gosh. Deef says, hard times make strong men make good times make weak men make hard times. Yes.
Wow, well said.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of current stuff. I grew up in a lot of my childhood rather was in Ireland, and the Irish stayed strong for 800 years. Well, during intense persecution by the, especially mostly the English. They lived through the penal times. They kept the faith. They kept who they were. And it has been said that 15 years of prosperity, and look how they threw all of it away.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it took. So I guess if the British had really wanted to break the Irish, they should have given them all money, because that's what happened. They're fighting the good fight over there, but yeah, persecution makes you stronger. Gosh. All right. Okay, let's all just jump off a cliff. Yeah, Deef, Canada, obviously. Look what's happening to my own country now. Yes, I'll tell you, Canada, I stand with you. I stand with you. I see it. I see it.
Well,
And
they voted for it.
Yeah.
yeah, well, just like we voted for it too, but I didn't vote for it. That's just where you just feel such despair. I mean, here we are tomorrow, Sunday masses. We're all like literally gearing up towards terrorist attacks. And then there's a question, should we stay at home? And then it's like, or do they win if we stay at home? They want to break our faith. I don't know. Because we know that no one's going to do anything about it. They're just going to let it happen. I don't know. It's an interesting question. Snartpoopa says NASA used a computer with the computing power of a modern wristwatch to be able to fly to the moon and back. Yes, today we use microcomputers with billions of times the computing power to tweet pictures of cats. Okay, I feel a little bit convicted about that, but hey, there's nothing wrong with tweeting pictures of cats. But I know exactly what you mean. Well, yeah, well, look at you. I mean, actually,
Yeah.
I love him though. His Twitter account, by the way. If put your link to your Twitter account, one of the best ever. Polar bears doing all sorts of cute things, excuse me, Snortopoopus doing all sorts of cute things because he really is a polar bear. Amazing account. Oh gosh, but we're going to come back stronger than ever. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Says Deef. Shansu cats are awfully cute, though. Yeah, I know. You can tell who the cat people are here. It's like, wait a second. Indeed, they are. Yes, they are. Ancient One, meet Auron. And Auron. Is she a 3/4 elf since her brother is a full elf? Wow, they really messed up her heritage. Yeah, good question. Oh shoot, I don't know. I don't know what percentage elf she is. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Ancient One. I mean, sorry, Soul Assassin, but thank you, Ancient One, too, because yeah, you've been dropping links as well. Now follow Snortopoopus, the best polar bears you'll ever see. Yeah, I don't want us to get into a big despair fest here, but that's one of these themes here. That's one of these themes is, and some people have said in the New Testament, why did Jesus always preach to the poor? And it's like, well, the poor will listen. The rich don't care, maybe because I'm not calling for us all to suffer and be poor and starve to death either. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, but there's something to be said about that. Oh, sort of people says, "Retro, I've been outed." Well, no, you are a real polar bear. I am a real flower pot, as Ancient One is saying. Yeah, the key is to have faith. Yeah, and I'm a little bit Elrond here. I don't quite have faith in humanity anymore the way I used to, but I do have faith in the people that I know and love and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to stick together, or I'm just going to go out on my island or cave, one or the other. Probably an island because living in a cave would be very limiting. Um, all right. So before we move on, I mean, anything else to say, Brittany? I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about this rather grim story, cautionary tale.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great story. You know, you get reminded of, you know, the choices of the half, quote unquote, half elven, you know, because you've got Elros, who is the original king of Numenor, and then you've got Elrond, who is, you know, who decides to live as an elf. So, you know, this is the tale of Elros and his kin. So I think it's pretty cool. And like Stieg said, you know, you get to see more of Sauron and just what a cunning and conniving, you know, creature he was. And, you know, he learned well from Morgoth, but at the same time, he also, you know, had his own way of seeing things as well. But yeah, I think it's a great chapter in it. But, you know, you also see that even though men are easily corrupted, there are some who are, you know, truly good people, such as Elendil and his kin. So, you know, not everyone is evil just because they're the race of men. And it takes a lot of strength to do the right thing, and they did. So I think that's a positive that you can take out of it. And plus, you know, if it wasn't for Elendil, we wouldn't have Aragorn. So
Good point. Well, there's a line from the movie Man for All Seasons that popped into my head as you were speaking, that sometimes we have to stand fast a little, even at the risk of being heroes, you know, even if we're all alone.
yeah,
So, and that's what you saw. Gosh, I love Aragorn.
me too. And remember when he fights with Reforged Narsil, he shouts out Elendil all the time.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Damn name dropping.
I know, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, and all these names, and gosh darn it, all these connections that we're seeing. Because yeah, remember I kept joking they were all speaking in tongues all the time.
I mean, pretty much. There were so many dialects in Middle Earth. It's like I don't know who's speaking what anymore.
Yeah, and sometimes almost the spirit would come upon them, and like they'd go Elbereth and all this, and if you don't know, you're like, who the hell are these people? They keep yelling out to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh boy. Gosh, I love it. I feel tired because I actually had an emotional connection to all of this. Before we move on to the very briefly through the next chapter, is there anything you want to say?
No.
Okay. All right.
No,
Yeah.
I just agree with what you guys said, really, in this case. So it's, yeah.
Okay. Well, I just didn't know if there's anything you wanted to add to it. I mean, I think we've exhausted it pretty much, but it just really occurs to me. I need to go through this work again. I not for maybe another year, not for another 2 years, because my head is still exploding, but there is still so much in here, so much rich material and things to think about and cautionary tales that it is worth it. I love this so much.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. What a guy. I love Tolkien. I mean, he probably would have thought we were all lunatics, but that's okay. You know, he was a proper British professor.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go on, let me see if there's anyone in the chat that has Boo should say, don't tell me, act like people the 1800s, like, let me show you some pictures of me cat's governor. And it's a grainy black and white photo. You know, You're not wrong. You got Deef says you guys need to listen to Dr. Kreef's lectures, Christianity and the Lord of the Rings. You can get it on his website. Could also find it on YouTube. Yes, I am very familiar with Dr. Kreeft. Yeah, he's the man. I've read all his works. Ignatius Press, I believe, puts these out. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And if you can maybe go through my playlist, we did do a Catholic explaining of Lord of the Rings stream. Me and Lady Greymaster and Father Sinatra, who is a relation, a distant relation. Let's see. 10 Insights of Evil from the Lord of the Rings. Yes, Dr. Kreeft, I would highly recommend him, especially if that is an aspect you want to get out of it. Ancient One says we all need to put together and keep Stignuth, the Avatar Viking squirrel, as a pet. We can feed him all the premium squirrel treats. Gosh darn it! All this talk of cats and pets and treats, it makes me want to go pet my cats and give him some treats. Especially because, my cat, she had a bit of an accident today. Her little ledge thing. She fell off of it, but she's okay. She landed on her feet, but yeah, she's having a bad day. I know. I see. I was almost hesitant to say that because I know you'd enjoy it. Actually, it was really sad because she's a little wobbly on her feet because she's getting old. All right. I think that we've got everyone here. All right. So let's go ahead and go on to Of the Rings of Power in the Third Age. Now, this is one that we're just going to breeze through because a lot of it is just material we all know already, but there is some insight from the about Sauron because it gives a little bit of background. So this is from the actual text. Of old there was Sauron the Maya, whom the Sindar in Beleriand named Gorthar. Why did they have to do that? In the beginning of Arda, Melkor seduced him to his allegiance, and he became the greatest, most trusted of the servants of the enemy, and the most perilous. For he could assume many forms, and for long, if he willed, he could still appear noble and beautiful, so as to deceive even the most wary. And when Morgoth went to the Phantom Zone, that's me skipping, not Tolkien. Sauron put on his fair hue again and did obedience to Ilenda, the herald of Manwë, and abjured all his evil deeds. And some told that this was not at first falsely done, but that Sauron in truth repented, if only out of fear, being dismayed at the fall of Morgoth. And then he was going to get a sentence or whatever from Manwë was going to judge him, but he didn't want to be judged, who was unwilling to return in humiliation, and it might be of long servitude in proof of his good faith, for under Morgoth his power had been great. It's therefore when Eob departed and he hid himself in Middle Earth and he fell back into evil. For the bonds that Morgoth had laid upon him were very strong. So he even maybe perhaps repented a bit at the beginning, but again, he didn't want the humiliation of a sentence. I don't know. Maybe everything would have changed if he had not, or maybe he would have been like Morgoth and just gone back and, I don't know, done it all again. Who knows? Let's see. So they go through some other things about what went on with the elves. Let me see. And then the great elves of Eregion forged many rings of power, but Sauron had deceived them, for he made the one ring himself, which was the master of the rest. That was from the summary. So we do get a summary of how they made the one ring, and the fact that the Eldar were deceived by Sauron in that. And, or so rather, now the elves made many rings. This is from Tolkien, but secretly Sauron made the one ring to rule all the other, and their power was bound up in it. And much of the strength and the will of Sauron passed into that one ring, for the power of the elven rings was very great, and that which would govern them must be a thing of surpassing potency. So we all know this but they're just reminding it of us. Um,
It's not mentioned much at all in the book. It just says that he makes the rings.
yeah, just not the details of it.
Yeah.
Well, I found it interesting where it said something like there were many rings that because Celebrimbor forged the elven rings, and it said, or the newer ones, but it said something to the effect where there were many more, but they got destroyed, and they kept the three most recent ones. And I was like, well, that's interesting because you don't really get that out of the Lord of the Rings. You just know they have three rings of power. You don't know that they originally created more, and then they were like, yeah, no, we don't need these. So I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And it's weird how Sauron only forged the one ring, but the other rings were still subservient to his ring, even though he did not forge those. So I found that quite interesting as well.
Yeah. Well, and it also says here that Sauron did not go to Lindon, for Gil-galad and Elrond doubted him and his fair seeming. Yeah, so Elrond's like, I ain't fooled.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sauron used that against them as well. Gosh darn it. Yeah, now there were three that had been made, and these possessed the greatest power. Nara, Nenya, and Vilya, they were named the rings of fire, the rings of water, and of air, set with ruby and adamant and sapphire. And of all the elven rings, Sauron most desired to possess them, for those who had them in their keeping could ward off the decays of time and postpone the weariness of the world. But Sauron could not discover them, for they were given into the hands of the wise, who concealed them and never again used them openly, while Sauron kept the ruling ring. Therefore the three remained unsullied, for they were forged by Celebrimbor alone, and the hand of Sauron had never touched them. Yet they were also subject to the one. Gosh darn it, I love this man. Yeah, and then and from that time, war never ceased between Sauron and the elves, and Eregion was laid waste, and Celebrimbor slain, and the doors of Moria were shut. In that time, the stronghold and refuge of Elamdris, that men called Rivendell, was founded by Elrond, half-elven, and long it endured. But Sauron gathered into hands all the remaining rings of power, and he dealt them out to the people of Middle-earth, hoping thus to bring them under his sway, all those that desired secret power beyond the measure of their kind. Secret power, the desire for secret power to make you cooler than everyone else. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I am just relating so much to this. On many levels. 7 rings he gave to the dwarves, but to men he gave 9. For men proved in this matter, as in others, the readiest to his will, because men suck. And I don't mean men here. Of course, I'm talking about humanity, humans. I love men. And all of those rings that he governed, he perverted the more easily, since he had a part in their making, and they were accursed, and they betrayed in the end all those that used them. The dwarves indeed proved tough and hard to tame, for they ill endure the domination of others, and the thoughts of their hearts are hard to fathom, nor can they be turned to shadows. They use their rings only for the getting of wealth. But wrath and an overmastering greed of gold were kindled in their hearts, of which evil enough after came to the prophet of Sauron. It is said that the foundation of each of the 7 hordes of the dwarf kings of old was a golden ring, but all those hordes long ago were plundered, and the dragons devoured them. And of the 7 rings, some were consumed in fire, and some Sauron recovered. Men proved easier to ensnare. Those who used the 9 rings became mighty in their day, kings, sorcerers, and warriors of old. They obtained glory and great wealth, yet it turned to their undoing. They had, as it seemed, unending life, yet life became unendurable to them. They could walk, if they would, unseen by all eyes in the world beneath the sun, and they could see things in the worlds invisible to mortal men, but too often they beheld only the phantoms and delusions of Sauron. And one by one, sooner or later, according to their native strength and to the good or evil of their wills in the beginning, they fell under the thraldom of the ring that they bore, and under the domination of the one which was Sauron's, and they became forever invisible save to him that wore the ruling ring, and they entered into the realm of shadows. The Nazgul were they, the ring race, the enemy's most terrible servants. Darkness went with them, and they cried with the voices of death. If that's not a Steve, if that's not a cautionary tale, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's well, it's tying nicely into the Lord of the Rings
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Finally,
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. What you were saying earlier, Rennie, when you were saying, or was it Rennie or was it Steve, that though all this was in the Lord of the Rings, it was only alluded to, but I love the more details. But just the way, Rennie, that they became mighty in their day, kings, sorcerers, and warriors, but at what cost?
Absolutely. It cost them their souls, so to speak. And I want to say it was the previous chapter where it said three of them were Numenorians. And I found that quite interesting because, you forget that. So I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but it was, each one of the three sects of the Numenorians, because you had the faithful, the elf friends, and then the kingsmen or whatever. I find that quite symbolic, but yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that, yes, they gained all this power, but at what cost, and then they can only speak with the voices of the dead, which I think the movies did the best they could to kind of convey that, because it was pretty awful. I don't want to hear like something that sounds like a banshee 24/7 talking to me. I'd find that pretty terrifying, especially in the dark. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty cool to read, but also at the same time, it's like, man, you have everything you want, but at what cost?
Yes, and that's why I think it's a cautionary tale, because, again, that's just something that I frequently have to put myself in check. It's like I can gain money, but can I gain the riches? It's like, no. Uh, and then Sauron, his lust and pride increased. He brooked no freedom nor any rivalry, and he named himself Lord of the Earth. Wow, that's not prideful at all.
No, totally humble.
Yeah. Okay, Sort of Poop says, I suspect there were a fair number of those lesser rings floating around at one time, but Tolkien never said what their powers were. Gandalf thought they were still perilous in some way. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a bad idea. Deef says, do you think it's possible that Arkansas was one of Fëanor's lesser stones before he crafted the Silmaril? We discussed that in the previous ones, that probably if Tolkien had written them all like linearly, that he would have maybe made that explicit connection. Or maybe we discussed that in the Hobbit thing. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think I got you all there. If I missed anyone's comments, I do apologize. But Sauron ruled by force and fear, if they might avail, and those who perceived his shadow spreading over the world called him the Dark Lord and named him the enemy. So those are the people that were awake, if you will, and they saw him for what he was. Thus the Black Years began, which the elves called the Days of Flight. In that time, many of the elves of Middle-earth fled to Lindon and thence over the seas, never to return. And many were destroyed by Sauron and his servants. We're talking about a big, huge ass war. But in Lindon, Gil-galad still remained its power, and Sauron dared not yet pass the mountains of blah, blah, blah. And they were aided by the Numenorians. I'm going to go to a bit of a summary here because there's some info dumping. And it says here, Sauron, during the war, many elves were killed, and the kingdom in Eredin was destroyed. Sauron captured all the rings of power except the three, and he gave... Oh, wait, we said that. But Sauron feared to assail Lindon as the men of Numenor aided Gil-galad, the mighty elven king. Through the Black Years, Sauron gathered to him all evil things of days of Morgoth. Hundreds of years later, the men of Numenor decided to capture Sauron to demonstrate their might. Sauron was brought to Numenor as a slave. Yeah, so this is the part where, as described in the Alcalabeth, so the events of the Alcalabeth happen. And once again, it's kind of confusing because we're going back and forth with the timeline. And they go through the part about Elendil and Isildur surviving, and they created realms that were governed in Numenorean style. Elendil ruled over Arnor in the north, and Isildur and Anarion ruled together in the great country of Gondor to the south. Years passed, and Sauron, who had renewed his might, decided to attack the new realms while they were still weak. His onslaught failed. However, Elendil, his sons, and the elven kings fought back. For many years, the great coalition, called the Last Alliance of Elves and Men, besieged Mordor. At last, the host broke through to Sauron's fortress, Barad-dûr. Gil-galad and Elendil wrestled with Sauron and were slain. However, they managed to defeat Sauron. Isildur, Elendil's son, approached Sauron's body and cut off his finger with the One Ring. In vain, Elrond and Círdan tried to convince Isildur to destroy the ring in the fires of Mount Doom where it was made, but Isildur took it for his own. And then thus began the Third Age of Middle-earth. Isildur himself died soon in a sudden ambush, and the ring that had betrayed him was lost in the great river. Guess what, though? Someone picks it up.
I wonder who.
My precious. Yeah, see, this is again. I know him. I know these people. I know these events. It just tells it in a little more detail. And then it says, Arnor became subject to attacks from the northern eastern kingdoms of Angmar. More and more people fled from the north, and although Angmar was defeated by the beginning of the third millennium of the Third Age, Arnor was no more. Its people were scattered, and its royalty decreased in number and fame. However, they remained true to the Numenorean descent. They became the Rangers of the North, protecting the paths of the north from the menace that came from the east. And again, the Rangers, we know them. I know them. As for Gondor, it prospered for much of the Third Age. However, in the beginning of the third millennium, this began to change. Gondor was assailed by orcs and men from the nearby Mordor. For a long time, no one suspected that the same force that had driven the attacks upon Arnor was now fighting Gondor. And that's how we find himself, Denethor, all weary of all this stuff. Did you want to say something, Rennie?
No. I just picture Denethor, all shriveled up and cranky, looking at his palantir in the steward's chair in Minas Tirith. Sorry.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like that damn orcs and all that.
Yeah, exactly. We're all gonna die.
Yeah. Flee for your life. But I also like it because speaking of, I know them. The several wizards had come to the land: Saruman, Radagast, Gandalf, and 2 blue wizards. Although it was unknown to the peoples of Middle-earth, they were emissaries from the west sent on behalf of the Valar to help them attain their freedom. For many centuries, they were silent, and little was done by them apart from observation and counsel. However, as the times darkened, they decided to take action against the mysterious dark force which seemed to dwell in the fortress of Dol Guldur amidst the forest of Mirkwood. During the attack, the force fled to Mordor and was revealed as Sauron, who was thought to have perished. And in the same year, the One Ring was found. Yeah, so we keep having to go backwards. Sauron made war in Middle-earth again, but Frodo the Hobbit came and saved the world. After this, it was made clear that Gandalf bore the Red Ring, Nara. Now, there we go. And let's see, how does it end? Using Tolkien's word, let's see. The keepers of the 3 rings rode to the sea, and Master Elrond took there the ship that Círdan had made ready. In the twilight of autumn, it sailed out of Mithrond until seas of the bent world fell away beneath it, and the winds and the round sky troubled it no more, and borne upon the high airs above the mists of the world, It passed into the ancient West, and an end was come for the Eldar of story and of song. So that's another way to end it all. And of course they ended it with the elves crossing over. So because this is the story of the elves. Yeah. Gosh darn it. I love it. So I know, Steve, did you anything in particular in this chapter, maybe some new insights or anything you wanted to say about this?
No, not really. It's tying into the Lord of the Rings nicely.
Yeah.
I wish there had been more though, but I think there's more in the unfinished tales.
Yeah.
So, uh, but yeah.
I'm just sitting here just like mhm. uh I love it. I love it. Rennie, I mean, here we are coming to an end.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you guys and with you, Steve, about it tying into Lord of the Rings nicely. Um, One thing that I had completely forgotten is that the Numenorians built Orthanc or Isengard, and I don't know how or why I forgot that, but that was a pretty cool thing to come across. It's like, oh, they actually built it. That's why it looks so cool. So all the buildings that they made or everything that they had made a lasting effect. And a lot of people don't realize when they read Lord of the Rings, Minas Morgul, which is where the Ringwraiths uh, live, or I don't know what you would call it, but where they basically just kind of congregate. That used to be Minas Ithil, and it was, Isildur's palace, or, Minas Tirith used to be called Minas Anor, and, it's been standing for so long, and they had such great technology and such great ideas, and, you know, I don't know who I would compare them to, but the Numenorians actually, set up a lot of historical artifacts in Middle Earth, and that's kind of a pretty cool thing to read up on. And I forgot a lot of detail about this book until rereading it recently, and I think it's been a lot of fun, like going, oh yeah, that's right, or oh yeah, so pretty cool to read up on the history of these folks, but also to see, that they purposely set up Gondor next to Mordor as a threat to Sauron. That's pretty cool, you know? They wanted to stand up and do the right thing, and which again shows not all men are evil. Some of them were strong enough to resist.
Yes. But also sucked to be in Gondor.
Yeah, because they were under constant attack, right? But they constructed it on purpose as a message to Sauron, and that took a lot of courage, and you know they didn't have to do it, but they did. So I really that was really cool to reread that section and go, you know what? They did it to be defiant.
Yeah. Gosh darn it. Now I've got to read the full freaking thing.
Right?
Yeah. Though I don't have time. I don't have time right now. And Jacob, no worries. No worries. Just happy you're here. Wow. Well, so we come to an end. And just a warning, I'm going to ask for some really final thoughts about all of this, the Silmarillion from the beginning when, Eru started making notes, musical notes, that is. See, that's why I'm calling it Fine. Yeah, because music. I just made that up, but I think that works. And then to the very end, where the elves go into the west, and thus they pass out, and everyone is the world of men now. So I'm going to start with Stieg. So, Stieg, what do you have to say about this daggone work?
As a work, and I guess as a piece of fictional lore, it's a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as a book, um, to be read, I'd give it a 6 or a 7 actually.
That's fair.
It's I guess the the content is is great, but the presentation isn't.
Hmm.
And yeah, it is. The book is not for everyone, and it'll never be one of my favorite books. You know,
Yeah. Reading this through, has this gained you any new insight or anything about the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings?
nothing for the Hobbit,
Yeah.
but a little bit for the for the, well, not too much for the Lord of the Rings either, to be honest. But it's it adds to the whole thing, though. You know, with
Hmm.
all the stuff about the elves and all that. But it's still, I don't know. I would say for someone who just wants some great fantasy adventure stories, this is probably not the book that you want to read. You
No.
know, but if you're a huge Tolkien fan and whatever, you should read it at least once.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, well, this time around, I just enjoyed being reminded of, again, all those names that they're always bursting out with in the middle of the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Before I go to you, Rennie, sort of Poopa says, I love the depth of Tolkien's works and breadth of his imagination. There's little to compare to his vision in fiction. Yeah, I agree absolutely. And he goes, "Take that, George R. R. Martin, you amply overpadded poser."
I would I would say that Robert Jordan though came close.
Ah, Wheel of Time. Yeah, yeah. But I know what Sword Poopus is talking about. You know, Tolkien was like the first and the greatest. Uh,
Well, George Martin doesn't count until he finishes the series.
I agree. I think that
The first five books he's written are great. They're fantastic, but the story is the sum of all its parts, and it needs an ending.
yes, yeah, you you just can't assess it until it's done. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Okay, Rennie.
Okay. Well, I actually loved rereading this book. And yes, it was, at times it was a bit of a chore, but I'm glad that I did it. I grew a better appreciation for it. The first read around that I did years and years and years ago of it, I just kept getting stuck so many times. This time around, it just flowed a lot better for me. Maybe it's because I'm more mature. I really don't know, but I grew to have a much better appreciation for it. I really appreciate getting really deep into the lore. Um, it's very interesting to see how different Middle Earth is from creation until the Lord of the Rings, so to speak. And it's also interesting to see where, Sauron gets a lot of his inspiration. He wasn't the OG bad guy. He was his number one lackey, so to speak. And then he turned into the big bad come Lord of the Rings, and also showing how good people can become corrupted, like Isildur, heir of Elendil, or son of Elendil, did all these great things like save a piece of Nimlos, the white tree of Numenor, and brought it with him to Middle Earth, but he couldn't escape the corruption of the ring, you know?
Hmm.
So, up until that point, he was a really great guy, and then he just fell into it when he was asked to destroy it. Or seeing that, I'm sure I've said this several times, you see elves as being these perfect beings. Well, they're really not. They're, susceptible to corruption and to evil deeds as well. You just don't get to hear those tales. So, whenever you hear about Feanor and his sons and the oath that they took and, what it cost them, it was awful, and they are not perfect beings themselves. They do have flaws. And, that was kind of nice to see instead of just like, oh, everything we do is great. It's like, no, everybody has flaws. You just don't always get to see them. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really am glad that we did this, because at first, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of like, oh man, that's such a hard book. This is going to be tough, but I'm going to do it. But I'm really, really glad that we all took this journey. And then, yeah, seeing everything tie in nicely to the other stories was great as well. It's not like whenever you have some other books or movies where somebody tries to do a prequel and it's just like, well, that's just a retcon, or that, made this turn into this instead of what we saw. So, none of that happened. Nothing was, changed or retconned or anything like that. It just added more depth to the stories we already know, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes to all of that. And when I read it the first time, I actually just ate it all up like with a spoon. I had a good time with it. And this time around, this is weird. It's almost like I had more difficulty, and maybe it's just because I'm not as immersed into it. There was probably about a good 10 years when everything was Lord of the Rings. I knew everything about it. I read all the books. I read the Silmarillion. I was just eating it all up, and then the movies. But going back through this, I think because we were doing this together and helping each other out, and of course the chat, oh my gosh, helping us out, it not only made it easier, but it also increased a lot of my understanding. You can't imagine that. How can I say this? That you could learn more, but I guess you always can. And as I was even saying earlier, I want to reread this. I do want to reread this after my brain has recovered. Gosh, it's some intense stuff. And when you have storytelling at this level, I mean, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it at all. But yeah, I agree with you, Stieg, in your assessment that this is not. It's not like a book that you will pick up and maybe can't put down. Like for the Lord of the Rings, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to find out what happens next. You're sitting there reading. You finish the Fellowship of the Ring, you go straight to the Two Towers. That kind of a situation. That's not this kind of book. I feel like it's several books within a book. Deef said Tolkien has world building largely set before he even started writing Lord of the Rings. Yes, and that's important too. Is world building. I mean, hell, he started it in the 1917, 16, 15 or whatever. So he'd been doing his world building and writing all this stuff down for 30 years before he actually started writing it. 20, 30 years, yeah. So that is that. My brain is completely exploded. I'll just tell you that I feel like my brain has been opened from the top of my skull and information has been in there, and it's a pleasant experience, but it's also overwhelming.
Yeah, I totally agree. And exhausting, man. I don't know why, but like I think you said it perfectly earlier. It's like I'm already tired from rereading these chapters,
Yes.
So I definitely get it.
In keeping it straight and all that. And since we're at the end, getting into a little bit of the open area, I just do have to say just one little comment about the TV show that Amazon's coming up with, is that I really hope that those that are listening to this and might be listening to this on the replay, even in a few months, maybe when the show comes out, I'll be making a separate playlist with just us going through here. I hope that this helps people see the real story, the real vision of Tolkien, because everything that we know about it, just the fact that they're compressing the timelines to put all these people in stories in times that they didn't live, you're not going to get Tolkien's vision, and you're not going to get Tolkien's vision because they don't have the rights to it. They're making it all up. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it's gonna suck. So go to the real one, go to the real source, and go to the real works. Alrighty. Well, we are going to be continuing with this not the Tolkien works. We did agree that we wanted to continue having book discussions, and we're going to start with the Sword of Shannara. The Sword of Shannara, which will be coming up soon. I don't believe we are going to start it next week. I will put this out to everyone. I think that we do. I want to take a break. I don't know about you, but maybe give us some time to get into the Sword of Shannara and maybe start it up in a week, 2 weeks. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do y'all think?
I like it. I'll
Yeah.
be real honest because I almost thought of asking you guys, hey, do you think we should take a little bit of a brain break? How do you feel about it? So
Yeah.
I'm totally game if you guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take a week off.
Yeah, a week or so off. Yeah. Okay. So how's this? And especially next week is going to be 4th of July, anyways.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Weekend. Yeah. So we're all going to be doing something stuff. Yeah. Hey, play nice in my chat. All right, folks. I think I'm just making sure we're all staying friendly here. Yeah, and talking about the love of our books and everything, I think that's what brings us all together. I can't thank enough the people that have been here every week. I always say your names, but once again, you know who you are. And it's really been a great journey. Snorter Poopa says, and I will be here for that, but probably less wordy. I know for less about Shannara and play dumb old bear. Yeah, I don't know anything. I will be going in cold to this work.
Well, just
Same
read
here.
it. Read the chapters as we read them.
I will be a novice, just like anyone else.
Yeah, so we'll be discovering it together. So, and I'm
We're
sure
doing the first 3 chapters.
That's the plan. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll assess it as we go along. Yeah, it's going to be a whole new world building. Yeah. Yep. Well, as Steve was just saying, Xiansu, I'm interested, but currently we've never read them. Read them with us. I mean, 3 chapters a week, I think, is very doable for people. Yeah.
This is the book Terry Brooks was accused of having ripped off Tolkien, and the story is similar. But the weird thing is, Terry Brooks said, "Yes, I agree. It's too close to the Lord of the Rings." But the weird thing is, he said, was he was not inspired by Tolkien when he wrote it. He was inspired by Faulkner. So the fact that it's very similar to the Lord of the Rings and comes off as a ripoff, he agrees with it. He said it flat out. Yes, it's too close to the Lord of the Rings, but it wasn't. It wasn't his inspiration for it. So a lot of the similarities are coincidental.
Yeah. Well, and good for him that he was honest about it and not getting all defensive.
Yeah, he wasn't defensive at all.
Yeah.
He agreed with everyone who said it. Yes, it was too close to the Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't even aware of it until it was published and people started saying it. And then he was like, well, yeah, it is. But he wasn't inspired by Faulkner.
Yeah. You see, Stig, you're going to have to be our resident expert on some of this. Like I said, we're the novices.
Yeah.
Oh, and stay away from the Shannara TV show. They butchered it.
Yeah.
Holy shit, did they butcher that show?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's it.
Everyone I know says the same thing.
Yeah, that Shannara show was full retard. Holy crap. I mean, it starts off with a guy waking up from having been in a magical sleep for hundreds of years, right? And he wakes up inside a cave inside a sealed cave during summer, covered in snow. Where's the logic there? And yeah, that was John Favreau before he started working on Star Wars.
No.
He was the one who directed that shit.
You mean he doesn't stay faithful to content?
No.
Imagine that.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Same stupid shit.
Yep.
It doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
That's right. Now, I will say he was pretty good with his two Iron Man movies. That's about it, in my opinion, to be honest. But that's
But
just me.
is
Yeah.
Iron Man really that complicated?
Not really, but yeah, I'll give him credit for those. But that's all I'm personally going to give him credit for.
Tyrone Beard says it all. What an arse. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's also he's gotten a little bit of JJ Abrams syndrome, like might have done one or two things well, and then everyone thinks they're a genius, and then they go
Yeah,
off and
absolutely.
ruin everything. Um yeah. Okay, well, yeah, and I always say, when people like things like what you like, it is what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this party because I am getting, I'm brain tired. That's the thing. I'm kind of used to. It's like even though this new book is gonna be good and all that, I think it's not gonna be quite as complicated. I won't feel like
Or as intense.
yeah,
So people don't have 5 different names.
yeah.
And there's no time jumping back and forth centuries.
My poor tiny little brain, man. It's
I
just
know. It's
exhausted.
like my brain. Okay, well, as always, you all are fantastic. Thank you for being here. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain that if the Valar tell you don't land on this friggin' island, don't go. Just stay where you're supposed to. Stay east.
Yeah, and if you throw someone off the cliff,